Alright, so we're going to start modeling, not necessarily modeling, but texturing our Voss bottle. If I click on the Arnold Render view, this is what we have so far. It looks pretty simple. Now, for my main light source, I went to the Arnold button, I went to Light, and created a sky dome. So that's how we can see this particular light source in here. And if I click in this background, that's my sky dome. And in my attribute editor, I increase the exposure to a value of 2. Now if I wanted it to be much brighter, I can change that to a value of 3. And in my render view, it's going to change the intensity. But I like it at a value of 2. And I'm actually going to create another light source so that we could see how light is going to penetrate this particular piece of geometry. So you go to Create, Lights, and I'm going to create an area light. Okay, so there's my area light. I'm going to close my render view right now because I don't need it open. I'll press W, which is my move tool. I'll hold V and just snap it right to the edge of this object, of this particular Voss bottle. It's too expensive to be buying the bottle all the time, but I like to drink from the bottle because I think it's a really cool shape, and that's why it's in my still life project. So go ahead and move this down, and I have to just kind of angle it so that it fits right there. So this line, you want it to face directly towards your object. I actually have another scene there. So I like to turn the wireframe on shaded, which is this icon here, so I can see everything. So I'll select this shape, and I'll go back to my Arnold render view. And right now it's not lighting my bottle. So what I'm going to do is go to the Arnold and change the exposure to something like 8. Let's try 12. Usually anything over value of 10, you'll begin to see something in your render view. So let's go ahead, and I could see light on this particular object, and what I need to do next is actually separate the geometry because it's all one piece. I don't want the entire object to be glass. Alright, so let's go ahead and so the light looks really nice here. You can see it being reflected off of that surface. So I'm going to go to Face, right mouse click and hold Face, and I'm going to highlight that entire object. Alright, so I have the base of the object selected, and I'm going to zoom in, and so I know I need all of these faces up until about that edge. So I'm going to hold Shift, press period, and grow that selection. Alright, so I need to extract this from the top. Click on Edit Mesh, Extract. Perfect. Alright. Okay, so this object is black right now. It's not because of any particular shader. I want to make sure that it's not reversed. So let's do that. There we go. That's perfect. All right. So with glass objects, and I'm going to isolate this object. All right. A glass object is double-sided. As you can see inside of here, it is only a single-sided object because the faces on the inside are black to my render view, but maybe in my camera, let's go ahead and move this out of the way. Yeah, so in my render view and in my perspective view, the faces here are black, which means that the normals are facing in the right direction. But like I said before, we need to make this particular object thicker. And the way we do that is simply press Control E, and I'm going to increase the thickness. There we go. So now we have double-sided. So you can see that there's the inside of the glass shape and there's the outside of the glass shape. This is going to allow our glass material to look much better than just a single-sided. So we change the orientation of that, and I'll press 3. I'll press 3 to smooth it out. Okay, so we need to add a AI standard, which is solid angles default shader. So I'm going to right mouse click and hold, assign new material. I'll click on Arnold, locate the AI standard, and voila. Okay. Now I'm going to rename the AI standard to Voss bottle. There we go. And we're going to change the diffuse weight to 0. So immediately it's going to turn this object black. We want to scroll down here to our refraction tab, and this is where the magic happens. So with our weight default at 0, we're going to increase this all the way up, and now we're starting to see a clear object, but it's actually transparent, which means that there's no light bouncing off of the surface of the object. I can see straight through it. I can actually see the back wall here through this object. Now the key is what we call index of refraction, IOR. Everything in life has an IOR, from skin to wood to metal, plastics, paper. Everything has an index of refraction. So there's a really handy website that you can go to. It's called Google, and you can type in IOR of glass, and it will give you a number. The number that we're going to use is 1.44. As soon as I do that, you'll notice how light is bouncing off the edges of this particular shape. Right? So now I can actually see my geometry through it and the edges. So this actually looks really cool. So I'm going to change the angle and maybe look at this crayon, and you can see the edge of the geometry of our glass bottle, and you can see the crayon straight through, and it's doing exactly what glass does. It bends that shape. So what we're going to do now is assign a material to this. We're going to, well, not necessarily assign a material, but we want to make sure that the refractions are perfect. So if we go to our Windows, Rendering Editors, and we go to our Render Settings, I'm going to click on the Arnold Renderer and scroll down here to the ray depth. Now I already changed my refractions, but the number of surfaces that are on this particular piece of glass are actually 4, because our light rays, and let me go to my front view. If I press 4, this object is double-sided, and if I use my grease pencil, I can show you that the rays of light are going to pass through this object, and when it passes through, it's penetrating the first surface, the second surface, the third surface of our glass, and then the outer edge of the glass again. Okay, so that's our refraction. If I change the refraction to any number lower than 4, we're going to get a different render. So let me change that to a value of 1. I'll go back into my perspective view, and I'm going to go back to Arnold view, and we'll notice that our object, our glass bottle, is black. So we want to make sure that we have the right number. If I change it to a value of 2, you can see again it doesn't really do too much. Alright, that means that the ray of light from our area light is only passing through 2 surfaces. So if I zoom in very close, say to the right side of this glass bottle, you can see a little bit of like reflective edge here. When this starts to clear up, it might become a bit more evident. See right there, that edge is becoming a glass object, so it's going through just 2 surfaces of this glass. So you can see here and there. And now what we need to do is, if we increase it to a value of 3, it starts to look more like glass, and I'll change this to a value of 4, and now it looks 100% like glass. The next step is going to send this object into Mudbox and assign the texture. So we'll do that in our next tutorial, and I will talk to you guys shortly.